Jeanty's going in the top 10. That's a fact. There's no doubt about it. If you're going to call me on that, you can book it. I don't know how you want to book it. If you're a betting man, if you're out there, and I don't know what the betting rate is, Speedy, go find the numbers right now. What is the over-unders on Jeanty going in the top 10? I would bet that Jeanty goes in the top 10 if you're a betting person. I don't think he goes past the Raiders. I think the Raiders are absolutely a team in play for him. And by the way, Pete Carroll comes from the Seattle Seahawks, and go look over the years what Seattle has done. They usually, in the last, I would say, 5 out of the last 6 years of their draft stock, I think they drafted 2 or 3 in the first 2 rounds of talent. They got Walker.
Minus 120.
Right. They had, minus 120. So
That's Bet MGM,
yes.
And then DraftKings has him at minus 125 to the Raiders.
So it's almost guaranteed that he's probably going in the top 10.
It's really a question, is it top 5?
Yeah.
Which is wild, considering what happened last offseason with Saquon Barkley, right?
I don't think he's wrong about Saquon Barkley. I don't really think he's wrong.
Because he was the second overall pick, that's why. And there's the whole prevailing wisdom was you don't do that or else you end up like the Giants, and the Giants are a joke. So if you're a team, you don't want to take them that high. Now, 5th overall with a guy that's not exactly like Saquon, a guy that might be a little bit more developed in a passing game, right? He's one of the better ones. People compare him to Kamara. If that guy might be worth a top 5 pick.
I don't draft a running back in the top 5. I never do that. If I'm a GM,
Yahoo has him at 6, and Sports Illustrated has him at 10.
But this guy isn't Saquon Barkley. He doesn't catch out of the backfield. He's not athletic like Saquon Barkley.
He's Bijan Robinson. That's what he is.
He's more like Ezekiel Elliott.
Hold on.
He's more like Ezekiel Elliott.
Whoa, I don't know about that.
That's the same type of running he is.
I think he's a Bijan Robinson. I think he's that kind of guy. I think he can catch the ball in the back.
Bijan catches the ball. I think he can. The ball.
I think he can. He's very athletic, and if you met him in person, I did. He's built that his body is very stocky, but he's got lightning fast legs. And by the way, he's got Saquon legs. If you look at him in person, he's very well built.
Realistically, how tall is he?
He's about, I would say, when I was standing next to him, maybe 5'11", 6 foot. That's where he's at. That's where I thought. When I was standing next to him, he might be maybe an inch taller than me, maybe a little bit more than that. He's not very tall, but very athletic. And by the way, dude, he is in great shape. He's in Saquon Barkley shape. His
lower half is big.
He's big. Dude, he's big.
This guy only had 138 yards total.
It says he's 5'9".
Well, that's because, and that's also because of the offense Boise State runs. I do believe he can catch the ball in the backfield. Boise likes to
look at the previous year when he was not the only running back that they used. He had 569 receiving yards on 43 catches and 5 TDs. They didn't need to throw it to him this year.
He's a Bijan Robinson. That's what he is.
I don't know. They're comparing him to LaDainian Tomlinson.
He's not.
They're comparing him to Alvin Kamara.
He's not.
That he's going to be the dual threat.
I think he's a dual threat.
Kamara tries to avoid tackles. This guy is not going to avoid tackles. He's going to try to break them. And who do we know in Vegas is a new coach that used to have a guy that loved breaking tackles. That might be he's only going to be there for a few years because he's the oldest coach in the league. Might want that shiny piece. And it's definitely Pete Carroll's type of thing to do. If Jeanty is there for the Raiders, I'd be shocked if they let him go.
No, he's going to the Raiders. That's where I think he's going. Shocked. And I'll be shocked if the Jets pass up on Warren. Tyler Warren's going to be a Jet. I do not. Every Jet fan coming out and saying they're going to trade out and they're still going to get. If they trade down for and wait for Tyler Warren, they're never going to get him. Okay, so I think Tyler Warren's definitely going to the Jets, and I believe Ashton Jeanty is going to the Raiders. I don't know. And by the way, and I'll say this again. The Raiders are an organization that does things like this. They're looking for a second weapon. They got a weapon over there in Bowers. They bring in Jeanty. Now they have They have 2 guys that can do things on both sides of the ball. Well, not both sides of the ball, but you know what I mean, offensively. And I think Jeanty could do. He could be a dual threat. I don't know I don't know if he's a LaDainian Tomlinson. I don't think he is. I don't think he's a Saquon Barkley. I think he's his own man. But if there's a guy right now over the last 5-6 years that have been drafted that I can kind of compare his skill to, because we saw Bijan Robinson at the Super Bowl. We saw him in person. He is a Bijan Robinson type of player. That's what he is. He's explosive. He finds the hole and then he just runs right through it. But he can also catch on the ends. You can use him in the pitch and screen passes. I think he's going to be really, really fun to watch. And I agree with you, Keith. He's special. But is he special enough to draft him in the top 5? I'd stay away from that. I think, and even with Travis Hunter, I don't think Travis Hunter's a top 5 prospect. And if the Giants decide to scoop him right up at number 3, that could be a mistake for the Giants too. I think you got to be careful.
This is kind of the same thing I've talked about, how the draft is so crazy in this aspect in all sports.
Yeah.
Because you look and you see, and it's, Yahoo has him anywhere from 6 to 12. Todd McShay has him at number 10.
Right.
Like what they can be in their comparables.
Yes.
And see what actually happens. And then we've seen, he's supposed to go 6, 7. And then next thing you know, you're like, oh, shit, he's out of the first round. So I love this time of year, especially with the draft and like me being more vested in the game of football. Because we're Husker fans. We don't have
Yes, we know you're Husker fans. Jeez.
Well, I just had to get that in there. Duh.
By the way, guys, we're going to have our draft party. We do it every single year on Thursday. It's going to be a long one. First round, we sit here, we go through the whole draft. We go through every single player, our thoughts. We're going to have special guests. Speedy, we have to start working on some of that.
I haven't been doing that much of the day.
Yeah, so we're working on that. We're going to get some ex-NFL players, probably maybe 1 or 2 players that are in the league right now, if we can get them on. So, and some, special guests that, people, fantasy guys. Somebody's going to come on here and there every single hour and help us out and kind of give us their take. But I will say this. Anybody that doesn't believe that Jeanty is a top 10 pick is blind. This guy is special. He is going to be a great player in the league as long as he stays healthy. The problem with him, and again, we can go up and down on some of the great running backs we've seen over the years. Jeanty comes from Boise State. How many great running backs come from Boise State? Okay, not many. All right, so I'm just speaking the truth here. You look at Alabama, there's great running backs usually every year. Ohio State, there's good running backs. Georgia, there's good running backs. SEC teams. Boise State, you don't usually look for running backs, and that's what you're going to scoop up in the top 10. He's special. He's unique. He's different. And I think that's something that a lot of teams, and by the way, he's very easy to talk to. He's very good to the press. He's very good when it comes to people asking questions and interaction and stuff like that. And he doesn't hold back on his questions. So I think he'll be good no matter where he goes. The Raiders are more than likely the team, unless the Patriots decide, hey, you know what? He's a definitely no-brainer. But the Patriots are not an organization or team. It is Vrabel. It's not Belichick. But the Patriots are not an organization that draft a running back in the top 10. So I can't see them doing that either. So I think the Patriots go after an offensive lineman. That's where I think the Patriots go. That's I think that's what Vrabel is going to do. But again, this could be a surprise because as good as Vrabel is as a coach, is he going to sit there and get the optional pick? Because Tennessee never gave him the optional pick. Tennessee never let him get the guy that he really wanted. As we all know, Brown was traded, and when he was sitting there, he was shocked. Speedy and me were sitting there. You saw he slammed the door. That's how pissed off he was when Brown was traded to the Philadelphia Eagles.
Fish to think, we were in Miller's Ale House watching that draft. At the time, I thought I was happy about Kayvon Thibodeau and Evan Neal being drafted by the Giants.
You should have saw his face, man. Speedy says, look at his face.
Did that and just ruined everything.
He was pissed. And you could see it.
Look, we said Kamara a little bit ago. I think Kamara was a 4th-round pick.
Yes.
In the draft, right? We see it every year. The guys that we're going to be talking about in our next segment are in the top. Only half of them will be these great players. Not everybody that is. It's injuries happen. People are just naturally overrated and busts. And we try to figure it out. But, like life happens to people. We have to remember that. There have been guys. There was Giants had a draft, and you remember this, Speedy. David Wilson looked like he was going to be a great running back for the Giants, special teams player. Had a weird neck injury and never played again. Tried to join the Olympics or something to be a jumper. but that was it. And that guy, we thought that guy looked like he was going to be real special for the Giants. So you never know. It's a crapshoot, right? But you got a guy like Jeanty, and you know that. Look, 29 touchdowns, 2,600 yards on the ground. It's pretty special. And I was reading why he wasn't, recruited anywhere. He didn't play running back till his senior year of high school.
Yep.
He played every other position on the field.
He grew up in Italy, so I think he had to trial everything.
Yeah,
that wasn't even his football. Football wasn't even his best sport.
Right.
Okay.
Isn't it great
yes.
like that when you find out about guys like this? I am always a proponent of the multi-sport athlete. I cannot stand when kids get, specialized when they're still 12 years old, 13 years old. Joba, I'm so happy you agree with me on this. This is I'm constantly fighting with when I was doing freshman and JV football. I'm like, their parents want them to play baseball year round, do fall ball instead. I'm like, you realize your kids just get there's 50 kids on the fall ball team, number one. Number two, your kid's probably not going pro because of what he does in fall ball when he's 13. And don't you want him to learn different types of mechanics and athletics and sacrifice?
Well, Fish, to that point, did you ever hear that? And if one of the guys can look it up, Christian McCaffrey did an article and he goes, the only reason why I'm as good as I am at football is because I played other sports.
Yeah. Steve Nash always used to say he was only a good passer because he loved soccer.
Yeah.
And the way that, you pass in soccer and the triangles and if you watch Nash play, it makes a lot of sense. You think about as kind of a soccer mentality to how he played the game. He was never looking for his shot. He was trying to make the right play, just like you would do on the soccer field. Now, I think cross sports is the most important thing, especially for young kids. When you have a guy like this who's done that, who says all the right things, and then writes this article, and it explains why he went to Boise and all these things, why he went back. It's hard not to fall in love with him. And there's going to be a bunch of teams calling up the Patriots, seeing if they're open for business, because the Jags are dumb enough and crazy enough to take him at five.
The five guys that were at the Heisman dinner, the two guys that impressed me the most was Ward and Jeanty. Those were the two guys that stood out to me out of all the rest. Travis Hunter, everybody was following him around like he was a little puppy dog, and they want to kiss his ass. And I sat there and I was like, he looks like a friggin' gremlin. I don't even want to be next to the guy. And then Jeanty and Ward, they just were very likable. And nobody was standing next to these guys. Ward was going to be the predominant number one pick in this year's draft, and nobody wanted to interview him. He was sitting there, and there were three guys around him. Everybody was on Travis Hunter, and Jeanty had a lot of people around him too.